Hello and welcome to your practice. Today our posture is Chaturanga Dandasana, which means four-limbed staff posture, otherwise known as a tricep push-up. So, just like yesterday, it's important to lay a firm foundation. So you may wish to start in tabletop and just connect to your finger pads and to the heels of your hands. And make sure that you're comfortable with the orientation of your hands. I like to have my index fingers pointing forward. Some people like middle fingers pointing forward. So just try a few different variations and see what fits most comfortably for you. You can try turning your elbows out and in a few times. And then maybe even doing a few of those serratus push-ups. Retracting and protracting your shoulders. In the Chaturanga, we always want to have a little protraction. So while a lot of people tend to just kind of collapse and let everything fall apart when they're dipping down into that really challenging triceps push-up, that's not what we're looking for. We're trying to stay strong and stable through the shoulder girdle. So let's start our flow today back in child's posture with long extended arms and a firm foundation in the hands. From there, we'll take 3 shifts forward to plank and back to child's. So with your breath, inhale and come forward, and exhale to press back. And keep going, feeling really strong in each finger pad and in the wrists. And when you're finished with that third round, we'll meet back in child's. And take a breath. Then we'll shift forward again to your kneeling plank position. And from here, just try a really tiny elbow bend. And notice what happens. A lot of times what happens is we shift right into that plank position, and then we bend, and the elbows go back, like you can see there. So my elbows are back behind my shoulders. What we really want to do is stack the elbows right underneath, or right over top of the wrists, and shift forward. So in order to achieve that, we want to not only shift into our plank, but then look out over the edge of your mat and lengthen the spine a little bit. Shift further forward so that you are in that 90-degree bend, joint stacked position. So try a few of those, adding in that little mini push-up. Keep it really small at first, maybe just a 1-inch bend, and then press back. And we'll do one more. And then take a little break. Take a breath. And then we'll try to deepen it a little. Remember, you can always stay with any point of this process. If you feel like that little mini bend is enough, that's fine. I even sometimes have people start their Chaturanga journey at the wall if holding their whole body weight is too much. So don't feel hesitant to modify these practices so that they suit the place that you're at today. Your strength will build little by little, and before you know it, you'll be surprising yourself with your practice. So we'll shift forward from extended child's posture, take a little extra shift beyond your usual plank, and then hover. Press up and press back. We'll do that 2 more times. Shifting forward, lengthening out, hover down, press up, and back. And 1 more time. So just to sort of demonstrate and really make clear that joint stacked position, I'll show you a little test that you can do. And for this, you will want 2 blocks. So if you have blocks, grab them. And if you don't have them, you can just watch as I do it. You can still do the exercise with me, but just seeing the visual of what the blocks are going to do might help you to really understand your alignment and where your body is in space. So, if you're using blocks here, position them far apart enough that you have space for your torso, the width of your torso in between them. And so you want to do that to begin. And then we're going to get ourselves kind of wiggle into your kneeling plank position with your forearms right up against the blocks. So take a moment to do that. And then try doing your triceps push-up without taking that little lengthening shift forward. What will happen is your blocks will tip back. If they're lightweight blocks, they might even fall all the way to the ground. So you can see what's happening there. If, however, we take that little extra shift forward, the elbows are then stacked over the wrists, the blocks stay upright. So it's a challenging little test, but it keeps you honest. It's really telling. And I often use that one in alignment workshops to help people see whether or not they're actually shifting forward. What that is going to do is really build a lot more wrist strength, a lot more triceps strength, and a lot more shoulder girdle strength, and it will protect your joints. So rather than cheat yourself and sort of take that path of least resistance, take your shift forward. If you don't have blocks to test it out, you can try doing your Chaturanga in front of a mirror and seeing if you've got that plumb line from elbow down to wrist, or you can ask a friend to sit beside your mat and tell you. So, a few other things that often happen, and you can do these right along with me. I know you want to get as many triceps push-ups in as possible. Shift forward. Sometimes people confuse their triceps push-up with a chest push-up. So they place their hands out too wide, like this, and then they can't actually graze their ribs at all because the base of foundation is too wide. So make sure that your hands are right down from your shoulders. Your wrists should be shoulder width apart. Your elbows are not going out to the sides at all. They're going back like that. So taking just one more little shift back to child's posture. We'll come forward. We'll hover halfway down, press back up, and then settle back. Now, just like in plank, you can do these from the knees, coming down like we've done so far every time you do a triceps push-up, or you can do them from the toes. Now, I encourage you, if you're feeling any swaying in your lower back or any discomfort in your wrists, to always bring the knees down until you feel all of those things clearing up, and only then try coming from your toes. So keep it on the knees if you feel like you're in a good place right there. Otherwise, come back to child's, shift forward to your kneeling plank, and then tuck the toes, picking up, and then add a little shift forward. Hover down, press up, Bring your knees to the ground and come back. We'll do that again. Shift forward to your kneeling plank. Tuck your toes if you're coming up to high plank. Take a little shift forward, hover down, press up, knees down, and return back to extended child's posture. And we'll do that again. Shifting forward, tucking the toes, shifting forward again, hovering for 3, 2, 1, pressing up, bringing the knees down, and returning to extended child's posture. This time we're going to come all the way down to the belly and add a nice little stretch. So we'll come right from extended child's pose and shift forward. And maybe you feel good on your toes in plank. And you start to shift forward and realize it's a bit too much. Just lower the knees first and then lower all the way down. This time we're coming all the way to the belly. And from here, we're going to do a little bit of a lift. So start at your upper back and imagine someone's pulling you up from there. Let your head roll up finally. And then bring your hands forward so that now instead of your hand being underneath your elbow is underneath your shoulder. We're still pretty much in a 90-degree arm bend here. We've just moved the whole thing forward. And now we're in a posture called Sphinx. I love this posture because it's a very supported way to gain some mobility in the thoracic spine or the upper back. A lot of times during our day-to-day activities, we round forward in the shoulders and just round in the upper back. And a lot of us carry a lot of stress and tension in the upper body as well. So this position is a really nice antidote to all of that. Just pressing into the forearms, the hands, the elbows, gives us this very supported spinal extension. Make sure that your shoulders aren't collapsing up around your ears. Press in to really rise up and just gaze straight ahead and breathe, lifting the heart. You can customize the amount of compression you're getting. If it feels a little bit too intense, maybe around even your lower back, you can move your hands forward a little bit. And that lowers your torso and it'll make it a bit more gentle. If you're not getting enough over time, just back them up again. So this is a posture that we'll just stay in for a few more breaths. But if you're having a really long day and you're doing like a lot of computer work or a lot of driving or something that's got you rounded forward, this is a really nice posture to hop into even for several minutes after those activities to just counter everything that you've done that had you rounded forward. When you're ready to come out, press firmly into your hands in order to lift the forearms up just a little bit and let the elbows move out to either side. And from here, we'll stack one hand on top of the other and just rest the forehead down. And then we're going to transition back to our posture that we're working with today, our Chaturanga Dandasana. But this time we're going to come from the ground up rather than from plank position down. So bring your hands into place. We're moving the wrists back under the elbows. Chances are, unless you've done this many, many times, you will put your hands a little too far forward when setting up here. And you might look down and see that your hands are beside your chest or even beside your shoulders. If that's true, back them up as much as you can, spread the fingers, and get those wrists right underneath the elbows. Pull your belly in so that you're really protected through the low back, and then see if you can push up to your kneeling plank. Then we'll come down all the way again. When you're ready, press back up. And this time we'll just come down halfway. And then we'll do it one more time. And then we'll go back to child's posture. Stretching back, releasing the head. Once you've had enough time there, bring your hands to the space right underneath your shoulders and press into the hands to straighten your arms and roll up. Now we're going to do, after all of that triceps work, we're going to do a little stretch. So begin by picking one arm and bending at your elbow and placing your hand right between your shoulder blades. If that's enough, just stay with that. Otherwise, you can add a gentle press with the other hand, like this. Or you can even internally rotate the other shoulder and reach up to connect. So this is a really nice chance to lengthen the triceps, which we really just worked. And it's also a great shoulder stretch. This is cow face arms, or Gomukhasana. And when you've had enough on that side, release. And then switch, bringing your other arm back. And you can just touch the upper back right between the scapula and stay there. Or you can really gently touch, not forcing your elbow back, but just really supporting there. Or again, you can come into those cow face arms. And of course, if you're wanting that experience, but you can't quite reach and bring the hands together, you can try this with a strap in your top hand or even a hand towel. And that will give you something to hold on to with the bottom hand. So as you stay with this, sit long and tall through your spine. Just take a couple more breaths on this side. And then when you've had enough, release. So that concludes our tutorial for today. And if you would like to continue your practice, I think it's a really nice place to flow from and maybe move into the rest of your body, do a little bit of lower body work to bring some balance. But even if that's what you've done today and you're feeling like that's enough, that is a huge success. A lot of times when people are having trouble getting motivated to do a yoga practice on a regular basis, or they're going through a hard time in their life, I encourage them to just get out their yoga mat and literally just sit on it and come into child's posture for a few days in a row, and just see what happens without any pressure, without even telling them any other instructions at all. And more often than not, they usually come back and say, I did that and I ended up right away or in the course of a few days just starting into a little movement and surprising myself by actually practicing when I thought that I just wasn't in a good place to do that. So if all you're doing is these tutorials, that's a huge success and accomplishment, and I really love knowing that you're practicing right along me through this journey, and I hope that you feel great about the work that you're doing and the strength that you're building over the course of this challenge. I hope to see you tomorrow for another posture, which will eventually link into a whole vinyasa flow. Thank you for practicing with me, and I hope that you have a wonderful day or a restful evening. Namaste.